many of the things that will be discussed and talked about and explained to you are things that we were not prepared. We were not prepared for, because the schools did not prepare us to understand that which is natural from that which is unnatural. But don't feel that you are ignorant or less than. What happened is that the schools did not prepare us, but that does not mean that we are not capable of digesting a piece of information once that information is presented in the proper way. So therefore, we're going to begin to journey into this healing thing. This healing journey that has been approached by so many different ways and by so many people since time immemorial. Today, we're going to try to decipher the undecipherable for you, that we could journey on a better footing, understanding what is health, what is healing, and how does the human body interrelate with these things we call plants. We want to understand, because it seems as though much of what has been said to us and shown to us has not been exactly right, because as I look at the menu of the American herbal position, many of the herbs that we use here in Usha are not mentioned in any of those books. And many of the herbs that are mentioned in those books are hybrid, meaning that they are artificial. And this is the reason why we fall short of the goal. The goal is receding faster than we could run. So please, let us take our time and walk into this thing. We're going to talk about the things that we need to hear, and we're going to explain the things that were not explained. So just take our time. According to the history of medicine, it began in Egypt with Imhotep I. Then it came down to Mr. Hippocrates, and it filtered down to Mr. Claudio Galen. So with Hippocrates in the year of 365 BC to 1729, Claudio Galeno, the Italian. These three men, Imhotep, Hippocrates, and Claudio Galeno, had something in common. They all used the same substance. They all followed the same platform. They took the same position. Because during that period of time, that time in history, naturally, there were not in existence at that time the chemicals that we are presented with today. They were only plants. But the history shows that they cured every disease known to man. So if this is true, then what happened between that time and now that things seem to be so difficult? Instead of us being useful in eliminating those that are present, new ones are cropping up every day, telling us that, again, the goal line is receding faster than we could run. Today, we find that the herbalists are using comfrey, they are using chamomile, they are using golden seal, peppermint, aloe vera, and many, 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 many more that are all hybrids. They all are artificial. That is the difference. How could I, Sebi, expect for my brothers and my sisters who practice the art of healing, using herbs where the molecular structure is incomplete because they are artificial, to understand that when the very school that was attended support that position? Oh, it becomes difficult. Because now, our brothers and sisters, not only in Africa, the United States, the Caribbean, also in Central America, are using hybrid plants. What happened to the uses of the natural herbs? Something must have gone wrong. Something must have taken place to divert us away from this path. Well, something did happen. The healer was educated. The healer cannot be educated but from one source, Mother Nature, Pachamama, as she called in certain levels and certain cultures. Pachamama could only be responsible for educating us in the art of healing, no other entity or philosophy, because all the philosophies have failed. Like for instance, the philosophy of using comfrey to straighten your bones only adds starch and acid to our system and compound that particular problem. The other is that I could drink wheatgrass juice, carrot juice, beet juice, and receive from that nutrition. That is impossible. Why? Because they're all artificial. Wheatgrass juice contains sugar and starch, two of the greatest enemies of the human body. But our brothers and our sisters in New York definitely recommend wheatgrass juice with pride. What you mean? This is chlorophyll. I agree with the position of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is one of the most effective and quickest way to heal the human body. But the chlorophyll would have to come from a natural base, and wheat is not a natural product of life. So therefore, the end product of wheat would necessarily be an acid one, and that is the subject, acidity versus alkalinity. Acidity has but one purpose. Acidity enters the human body to destroy cells, to cause cell erosion. Alkalinity, on the contrary, alkalinity comes to support life and to maintain electricity. So, a hybrid plant opposed to a natural plant, and we would use two. We would use the kalawala, which comes from this part of the world. It's a natural plant, it's a spore plant. The molecular structure is complete, deeming it electrical. Not so for comfrey, golden seal, and the rest. They are hybrid, meaning that they were made in a laboratory. Being made in a laboratory, naturally, it has to fall short. Because to titrate two things in a laboratory, you need a chemical. In other words, if you have to bring two plants together that ordinarily would not have joined each other's through chemical affinity, forced together is what makes things hybrid. You have to use a chemical to bind them. If man could make an artificial plant to equal in production, to equal in value as that which is natural, then man says that he is God. Impossible. The human body is a natural one. The cells are electrical. The human body shows the ability to move, to produce motion. And there is nothing on the planet that produces motion that is non-electrical. There must be necessarily the presence of electricity. A hybrid plant is non-electrical. Why? Because a man made it. If man could make an electric plant, then he's saying he's God. He could make something to complement the human body. That is impossible. We don't even want to go there. So we see now that the reason why we have failed to complement simply because we were not prepared for the journey. As for myself, I didn't prepare myself for the journey. I was prepared. And why do I say that? Because I had listened and read many books, from Ivan Kirkikov, the Russian, Alma Hutchins, the Canadian, to Mr. Christopher, the American, Jethro Kloss, the American, and many, Jeronimo Rodriguez from Brazil. He wrote a book, Las Plantas Curan, Plant Cure. I have read many books, Spanish and English. And out of those books, healing is absent. So now, it was necessary for the Usha Research Institute to take the position of common sense. That if Hippocrates cured, Galen cured, then we should cure. In our research, we found that there it were. Our brothers and sisters were not aware that natural plants are electrical. They do not live through the process of photosynthesis. Theirs is photovoltaic, which deems it electrical. Why should it be electrical? It should be electrical. If the human body is electrical, then the nourishment should also be electrical. But we find today that our educators, our religious leaders, our leaders and followers indulges in the consumption of acid substance, then seeking this thing we call peace. No. Peace could only be attained when one is married to the cosmic procession. And you show that you have divorced yourself from it when you drink carrot juice, when you eat carrot cake, when you eat beans. All of the beans that are made were made in England by Menlo. He was a Jesuit priest. And about the carrot, well, Nova showed us that they were made in Holland. And they were made by joining the Queen Anne lace, which is known as the yarrow, and the wild yam to make the carrot. Here we find our leaders and healers recommending to us that we eat carrot cake and drink carrot juice, eat bean pies. Could you imagine? Sure, we could imagine. Remember what we said. We have been divorced from that which is natural and placed in that which is unnatural. That makes it extremely difficult. We know at the Usha Research that when someone uses peppermint, it is only because they had not done the research themselves. They are relying on the research of others. That is the danger. We're going to give only one example, and then we're going to go into this thing that the Usha Research has to offer.